Alright, so I'm back, and today, John Lant, that's how you pronounce your last name, he posted on my last video for Skids, because I asked, what you guys would like for a question of the day, and he says, my question of the day is, can you do a video where you lay out your whole Decepticon army before the 1986 movie and give a brief synopsis on how you feel about each figure and character? Then do a separate video for the Autobot army. I think it would be fun to see all the figures together as an army. Again, just season 1 and 2 cast. Okay. So that sounds like it would be fun. So I'm going to do it. So if anybody else out there, including you, John, if you think of any more great ideas like that, let me know, because I'm always up to do whatever. I'm out of figures, so I have nothing else to do with my time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one video with the season 1 and 2 cast of Decepticons, and then I'm going to do a separate video adding in the 3 and 4 Decepticons. So you'll even have a bigger army. So this might be a little long video, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be fun for you guys. I've been meaning to redo my shelves anyway, so works out great for me. So we'll do season 1 and 2 now, and then we'll do season 3 and 4 to add in, so that you can even see a bigger Decepticon army. Then we'll do season 1 and 2 of the Autobots, and then 3 and 4 added in. Although there are a lot more Autobots than Decepticons, I might split them up by season 1 and then season 2, but we'll just see how it goes. Anyway, let's start off the Decepticons with, the most important one being Megatron. Zoom all the way out here because this table's gonna get crowded. So this is the Henkei, whatever, version of the Classics Megatron mold. I really dig it. I've done the review for him already. You guys know I really like this mold. I like it. It's looking a little dated now, but it's still a good mold, and it still fits Megatron really well. As far as the character itself goes, I have to say, he's the most iconic Decepticon leader for a reason. When you think of Transformers, the two first names that pop in your mind is Optimus Prime and Megatron. So, he was a great leader. I think he, made some mistakes, and I thought Galvatron was a better leader because he didn't tolerate the betrayals as much as Megatron did. But at the same time, he did what he could with the troops that he was given. Even though the Decepticon army was always feared by the Autobots, they always seemed to be really outnumbered, and I did not like that in the show. So there's Megatron. Next up, we'll do his second in command, and that being Shockwave. And as I said, I really like the Alternators mold, but this was more classic style, although I wish he was a Voyager. The figure itself, but it works. And I don't know what's going on with my lights here. For some reason, it's all dark all of a sudden. Oh. Trying to change the settings. I guess this is as good as we're gonna get. Let me try and pause this and get right back into it. And already that's much better. Okay, so Shockwave as a character, I did enjoy him in the comics, or in the cartoon, but he really didn't have a whole lot of role in the comics, or cartoon. It's been one of those days. I've already had a few beers, so. But yeah, he didn't have the biggest role, and I thought that was really unfortunate because, you know, everything I know about him, he's a badass, and I wish, like I said, I would just wish he would show up a little bit more. But he didn't, so oh well. Next one we're going to take a look at is the communications guy. And that being Soundwave here. Great character. He was in the show a lot between season 1 and 2. Pretty much as Megatron or Starscream. He was a very popular character. This is the music labels. Soundwave. I have been debating on Shockwave. I've been debating going back to the Transformers Prime version, and Soundwave I've been debating going back to the Generations just to get Voyagers. But I don't know. Anyway, Soundwave. This particular mold is amazing. It's my personal favorite. In a classic style that I've seen yet. I know Masterpiece Soundwave is supposed to be like the greatest Soundwave ever, but I don't have it because I don't collect Masterpieces aside from the few that I do have. But yeah, he's awesome. I love him. Next up, we'll bring in the first of these guys, and that being Starscream. And, you know, this is the United Ace Seekers. Yeah. And just great figure. I love the character. He was a lot of fun. The fact that he was a badass air commander, and, you know, kind of a pseudo second in command to Megatron when Shockwave wasn't around, and you know, always tried to betray him. Half the time, though, he was actually the intelligent one. He was the one saying, "Hey, Megatron, we need to use a little caution on this plan. I don't think it's going to work out for us." And Megatron would just be like, "No, we're going to do it anyway." So he wasn't as treacherous as people think. He's at my job. You know, I'm the assistant general manager at a hotel, and I have to play devil's advocate on both sides of any argument at any given day to paint that picture of what the other side of the argument would be, even if I don't fully agree with that. And that's kind of what I see Starscream as kind of doing. And I relate a lot to him because I always tell my boss, like, "Hey, you know, we can't do this because of this," and then she would, you know, then she can weigh in all the options. Anyway, Starscream, awesome. So then we'll do two at a time here. Thundercracker and Skywarp. Reason why I'm bringing them both in, Thundercracker really never got much screen time. I mean, he was in there a lot, but he never did anything of any importance. And that was unfortunate, but at the same time, he was kind of there just to flank Starscream. Same kind of goes with Skywarp, although Thundercracker did get an episode where he was kind of a main character. That was the one where Autobots brought Jetfire back, or Skyfire back, and there was some sort of, I can't remember, mind ruins that had a death ray in it or something. Anyway, but yeah, he was kind of important in that one, but that was really it. And then while we're at it, for Seekers that are not too important, there is Sunstorm, Bitstream, and Hotlink. Or I think this one's Bitstream and this one's Hotlink. Anyway, they made appearances in the show, but they weren't really. They didn't really matter. They were just, you see him a lot in just kind of the behind the scenes. You know, oh, the Decepticons are doing this and this and this, and there those guys are. So I mean, again, this is all the same mold, so it's a great mold. Highly recommend it, as always. If you're willing to shell out a lot of money. Let's see, who else was in season 1? I'm trying to do this by season 1. Laserbeak, of course. he was the spy. He didn't really do a whole lot of fighting, although he did shoot Optimus when he was down. But I mean, I can't imagine G1 cartoons without Laserbeak being somewhere present, because he just was that important of a character, especially to Soundwave. I mean, that's how Soundwave got a lot of his data, was by having Laserbeak around. And yes, the music label one can hold Laserbeak on his arm if you balance it right. Looks really cool. Let me zoom in on that. So yeah, there's that. And of course that's the masterpiece, Laserbeak. I got it on eBay for $20 because it had a deformed Decepticon logo. And as I said in the review of him, somebody had to give him a good home. So I was glad I was able to do that and get him at a discount. That's always good. And then, of course, Rumble. He was another big one for the Decepticon team. A little punk kid. I really liked him. He actually was in the show and did more talking and action than like Thundercracker Skywarp did. So that's kind of cool of him. Ravage. Again, these are all masterpieces. All my Decepticon cassettes are masterpiece figures. So, because I love those. Ravage was in the show a lot too. You see Rumble taking on mini bots, Bumblebee, them, Brawn, stuff like that. And he did get in a fight with Hound once and actually win. Ravage here seemed to be more terrifying to the humans. And he'd run after the humans, and that was always fun. I like that. So there's those guys. The next one would be Reflector. And this is the Perfect Effect Reflector. I like this figure. This is that, if you remember my review of him, I can't quite recommend this guy because of the cost. $90 for these little guys. That's a lot of money. I bought these 3 Seekers for the same price, so they're cool. I wish they were a little bit bigger for the cost or a little bit cheaper. And in the show, they were really, really just place fillers. The Decepticons, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of characters in the original G1 cartoon. Season 1 anyway. This is pretty much it. So you'd see a lot of the Seekers floating around. Oh, almost forgot Acid Storm. So you'd see a lot of the Seekers floating around, and you see Reflector floating around. And that was kind of it for a big portion of it. And later on in the season, we did get the Insecticons. So here are the Fans Project Insecticons. Kickback. Shrapnel. I'm gonna have to move this back, aren't I? There we go. And he dropped his gun. And Bombshell. So there's Fans Project Insecticons. If you can find them at a good price, I highly recommend them. They're a lot of fun. I'm interested to see actually hold the Legends class shrapnel that's coming out. Just to see if that's worthwhile. Because I've always said if Hasbro makes a figure that's as good as a third-party figure, I will replace that third-party figure with a Hasbro figure. But that's me. They show up I think about 3/4 of the way through season 1, and they just wreak hell. The 3 Insecticons can hold off the Autobots on their own, and that was awesome. I love that. So I liked him. Bombshell, you know, he had the little cerebral shells that would control people. He used that on like Mirage, and the Night, whatever her name was, the robot Nightbird. So yeah, that was cool. I did dig that. And then the last edition in season 1 that was of importance, really, would have been Devastator. I'll just set him back here. Now, and he showed up at the very last episode. Just popped in there, and he's one of my favorite subgroups. I mean, I like the Combaticons better as a combiner, and I like the Predacons better in general, but I like the Constructicons because it added 6 more members to the Decepticon army. And although they did fight a lot, and you know, Devastator was Devastator, you know, he'd come out and just kick some major ass whenever he wanted to. More than anything, they were there to build stuff for Megatron, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that because that made the army seem more functional to me. To have somebody there that's sole purpose is to build things. Because, you know, our army, the American army, you know, that they have soldiers out there that will build bridges so they can get across rivers and stuff like that. So, you know, it just made sense that they had Devastator added in. And the Decepticons really need something that could fight the Dinobots, and that was Devastator. And none of the Autobots saw that coming when they first drove over the hill and saw him. And that is the Make Toys Giant. I know a lot of people have the Hercules figure, but I think this works really well in the classic scale for me. A part of me, you know, I kind of put all my eggs in one basket because I'm trying to get the classic scale type people in this scale. And as much as I love this guy, the Minosaur just was such a letdown, and the Bruticus is a cool figure, but that new one that's coming out looks so much better. And unfortunately, that one's also a lot more expensive and a lot bigger. Well, actually, no, he's not that much expensive. He's only, I think they're like $80 a limb. I'm really, really tempted to buy some of them. I'm very looking forward to when some better reviewers than I get their hands on them first. But anyway, that's Devastator. Loved him. Let's see here. And that's pretty much it for the season 1 of the Decepticons. When season 2 hit, we stopped seeing so many of the Clone Seekers, and we pretty much stopped seeing Reflector altogether. The rest of them stayed, but we did get 2 more cassettes with Buzzsaw. I have no opinion of Buzzsaw. He was just there. Only reason I bought the figure was because I got it for cheap, and he was part of the show. I have no love for him, so I mean, if you're not looking for a full collection like I was, or if you're not a diehard Masterpiece fan or something like that, he's one of the few Masterpiece cassettes that I couldn't recommend. And of course, there was Frenzy. And as I said in the review, I like to pose him with the pistols and him with the pile drivers, just kind of differentiate there, make them look different. And I know the camera's really zoomed out here, but that's the only way to do the full army. Also in season 2, we had the Conehead Seekers pop up. They just kind of came out of nowhere. Thrust and Dirge were kind of like the Thundercracker and Skywarp of the original Seekers. They were just kind of... I hate to say it, but they were kind of throwaway characters. Just there for troops. Thundercracker... Or, not Thundercracker, but... Thrust had a cool line in one episode where he was flying by a building, smashing all these windows, and he's like, let's teach them a lesson in sorrow. And I was like, that's cool. Too bad he doesn't do anything else in the whole series. But Ramjet, he was more of an important character because he was the leader of the Coneheads, and he quickly kind of became second command of the air assaults with Starscream there. Again, those are the same Seeker molds, essentially, slightly retooled. And as always, I do recommend those guys. But as characters, they were kind of throwaways. Next up, and he showed up. I think he showed up before Blitzwing did, or not Blitzwing, Astro Train did. So Blitzwing. I do like the mold. I think it has its problems. The head being too wide. I kind of wish he was a smaller Voyager, so he wasn't taller than Megatron. But then again, he's a triple changer, and the triple changers were big. But also the shoulder problem that a lot of people had. I took mine apart and filed out the middle so it works, and I got the repro labels, so it actually looks really cool now. Other than that, it has its flaws, but it's the best Blitzwing we have. Mostly because it's the only one, unless you buy the G1 figures, which I don't. I won't fill in my classics collection with G1 figures. And Blitzwing, he was a good character. I did enjoy him. I think my most memorable line from him was in the movie, actually, where he says, "Come on down, Auto Brat." And then he accidentally shoots shrapnel in the chest, blows a hole right through him. Oops. Thanks, Cup. The next we got Astro Train. Now he is a deluxe, and I think he's too small. I just would have liked Blitzwing to be a little bit shorter than Megatron, and Astro Train just a little bit shorter than Megatron. Now Astro Train. The one time where he takes over that planet, that was cool. And then, everyone's panicking when everything was blowing up, and they're like, "Oh, what should we do?" And he's like, "Die." That was pretty funny. But then also when Astro Train and Blitzwing decided to take over the Decepticons and set Starscream up as Starscream tried to take out Megatron, then lock them both in a cage together. That was pretty funny. That was a hilarious episode altogether. So I like those characters. I couldn't imagine my collection without Astro Train or Blitzwing. I wish they were more in scale with each other. So Hasbro, please make a bigger Astro Train or a smaller Blitzwing. We did see Crimzink. And that's the Possible Toys Crimzink. We did see him pop up, but he was one episode, kind of a throwaway. And while we're on that topic, let's get Nightbird here too. Nightbird showed up. I always like to. I don't like the figure that much, but since I have it, I always end up putting it near the Insecticons because Bombshell was one that rewired her, so that worked. Then the next character mode, mostly because this guy was such a pain in the ass to transform. But the next one that showed up was Minosaur. And yeah, okay. You guys know how I feel about this guy by now. For the cost, I don't think he was worth it. But, oh, and for the Astro Train and Blitzwing, I do recommend them. They're not great, but they're pretty cool. But as far as him goes, I don't know if I can recommend the individual figures, as I said in my review that I did not that long ago. But the characters were really fun. There's just something wrong with them. They were all just batshit fucking crazy, and that was fun to watch. And I do apologize. My camera reset here. I'm not sure where. About a minute ago, so you might have missed a section of this. But anyway, so they're all just fucking crazy. Motormaster thought he was better than everybody else. Dead End, I think, was the one that was kind of manic depressive. And so on and so forth. But yeah, he was cool. I enjoyed the characters. I thought they were fun when they were being built in their initial episode. And I did enjoy just seeing them on a regular basis. Anytime the Stunticons showed up, I was like, oh, this is going to be an interesting episode, because they were all, like I said, crazy. And then the last one was the one built by Starscream, and that is Bruticus. And although I do have the Fall of Cybertron Bruticus, I still use this guy as my Bruticus because he fits better into the classics for now. I don't know how the Boosticus set's gonna look. So once I get that in, we'll take a look at that, and he might be getting replaced, but I doubt it. It's gonna take a lot to make that figure better. But yeah, so, and Bruticus, he's just awesome. Although for the most part, individually, none of them really had too much personality. They were all just, badass warriors. The only one that had any kind of episode to himself was Swindle, and that was just because he was just a con artist, and that was fun on its own. But Bruticus as a whole was awesome to watch, because when they're just working together as a team, they kicked everyone's ass. And when they would combine, they beat the hell out of Devastator, made Megatron submit to Starscream, and then Minosaur steps in and beats him. But then they proceed to take over Cybertron from Shockwave. And that's saying a lot. So there you go. There is my Decepticon army for season 1 and 2. As a whole, I really like my collection. I wouldn't have it if I didn't like it. Any figures I don't like, I sell. And if I look at them in the package and it's like Armada Starscream, that one that just came out, it's like, I like it-ish. I have no place for it in my collection. I don't like it enough to buy it. And I know I'm going to get the mold anyway when G-Axis comes out, so... And G-Axis is not a character in the show, but I feel like I want to have him. But as a whole, I do really like this whole thing. Sorry. Now, my biggest issue with this whole collection is the fact that Megatron really stands out because he's a Voyager in a sea of deluxe-sized figures. So, I wish... I know they're making a leader class Megatron, and I will be getting him because Hasbro says it's a new size scale, not the previous leader class that we're used to. And from what it looks like he's probably going to be about that tall, which would put him in Orion's scale. That looks cool. But I do, part of me wants to get the iGear Seekers, the Voyagers that are coming out, but I don't like the way those molds look, is my big hesitation, and the fact that they're $100 a piece. These were $100 per 3, except for the BotCon ones where those were like $150. But, so I have like 450 $350 worth of, let's see, $350 worth of Seekers here. And, you know, yeah, I could sell them all and get 3. That would be in about a little bit bigger Voyager scale. So, anyway, my big issue is that I think the reflectors need to be bigger than the cassettes. And the cassettes are bigger than the reflectors. That's unfortunate. But then again, I do have Masterpiece cassettes. I think the Insecticons are a perfect scale for Megatron, but everyone else needs to be up, at least up to here on Megatron. Yes, he's bigger, but they should also be bigger. The bulk of my Autobot collection, although I don't have any combiners, but a lot of the Autobots are in the Voyager scale. So if my Autobots were to fight the Decepticons, it's going to be a very one-sided fight, especially with Metroplex, but that's a different story. So, anyway, I love this set. Anybody that's on here, I can recommend to an extent. I mean, like I said, I like the Reflector. The one that I'm most hesitant on recommending is is Nightbird, then Reflector. Don't ever buy this. Get it as a freebie if you can, but don't buy this. But yeah, Reflector would be the most hesitant recommendation, just because of the size and the cost. If they were bigger or they were cheaper, I'd get them. I'd recommend them more. But anyway, so I think that's really all there is to say about this season 1 and 2 cast. So let's. I'm gonna grab guys from season 3 and we'll reconvene, I guess.